So Giannis sat down with the New York Times and had a pretty huge discussion, and this is one of the major quotes that he said. Giannis said, "I would not be the best version of myself if I don't know that everybody's on the same page. Everybody's going for a championship. Everybody's going to sacrifice time away from their family like I do. And I don't feel that. And if I don't feel that, I'm not signing." He actually also said, winning a championship comes first. I don't want to be 20 years on the same team and don't win another championship. His future in Milwaukee, I think we talked about this a couple months ago, I think, when we said that, Giannis could be one of the big... I brought it up when we did the Celtics were gathering up a bunch of these picks, and I said they're going for someone big, and there was the report that a seismic trade could be happening this year or next year. Now, Giannis next year is eligible for a 3-year, $173 million extension. Right now, he's still wrapping up his contract, which he signed back in 2020, which was 5 years, about $230 million. That ends in 2025. He does have a player option in 2025 for about $52 million. So it wouldn't be this season he signs it. September 22nd, he's eligible. He even said, numbers-wise, it doesn't make sense to sign it now or to even think about it now. Next summer, I think that's the last year of his deal. That's when he'll think about it. So this season is a major season for the Milwaukee Bucks to sort of figure out what's going on. So I want to know, do you think Giannis next summer, because he even said it doesn't make sense right now, do you think next summer Giannis will sign the extension to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks?
He can sign this extension next month, right?
He could sign it a month from now if he wanted
to.
To
get $173 million guaranteed commitment.
At the end of his 3 year, at the end of 2025,
he'd have another $173 million added to it.
If he, even next summer though, it doesn't matter when he signs it. Except,
but what if he gets hurt this year?
Well,
what if he got a career-threatening injury?
Well, then I don't think
in this year.
I don't think the Bucks will offer him that extension.
That's right. So what would you do? If you had a chance to sign for $173 million now before you have to play any games this year, would you take the risk of playing the whole year, waiting to see what happens, whether he thinks the team is committed to winning a championship, which is a pretty subjective thing. Right. What players does he think would be the right chemistry for him on the Milwaukee Bucks and the coaching staff and everything that will create an environment where they can win another championship? That's a very hard thing to predict.
Of course.
And a hard thing to say,
Absolutely.
They have a team. I'd say the team they had this past year was a championship caliber team, right? They had a lot of good players on that team. Why Miami beat them is beyond me. Giannis was hurt a little bit in that game,
right?
In that series,
yeah.
And why they couldn't overcome that? Well, the coach got fired, and
Mike Budenholzer got fired.
Now we're on to a new coach who came from the Raptors, their assistant coach,
right?
So we'll see. If I were him, I would sign now.
I wouldn't.
Why take the risk?
I wouldn't.
$173 million.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do it.
I would not sign the extension at this current moment, because what we saw last year was, by the way, I'll say this right now, I think this is big when it comes to the future, right? Giannis is going to be there. If he finishes out his contract, which I guarantee you he will do, I don't think he's one of these players that demands a trade.
He has an option year
in 2025. So
at the end of 25, he has to play the 24-25.
So right now we're in the 2023-2024.
2 more years with them.
If he signs a player option, he has 2 more years with them. Now next year, 2024-2025 is technically the last year of his contract.
Right.
Now
but the player option comes.
The player options
after that.
That's that following year, correct?
Yeah. So he has to wait. If he doesn't sign this extension, this supermax,
I don't think it's a supermax, but it is. It may be a supermax.
It says it's a supermax.
Okay, no, fair.
So if he doesn't sign that, he has to wait till the end of his contract.
No.
He could sign it anytime.
He said that numbers-wise, at the moment, it doesn't make sense to sign it right now.
Why does numbers-wise doesn't it make sense?
I guess it could restrict them for the future. Maybe I'm not entirely sure. Next summer is probably when he will sign it if he does decide to sign it. So if we're waiting until next summer, I'm saying do not sign this, because regardless if they win or not, I wouldn't sign it, because you could probably there are better teams out there. The Bucks. This is what I was about to jump on. The Bucks are currently tied for the oldest team in the NBA. So based on just the age of your players, I mean, Drew Holiday already announced when he's retiring at the end of his contract. He's done. He's not extending. He's not going to a different team. He's finished. How many more years does Brook Lopez have? Chris Middleton's been dealing with injuries. I'm not entirely sure this team has a future here, regardless if they win one or not. If they win one this year, great. Guess what? You still have a bunch of old guys on your team that really have no future because just of the age of them. Now, right now, we're looking at the oldest teams. It's a three-way tie.
They have a guy, Portis. They have him,
Bobby
right?
Portis, yeah.
He's pretty good.
The three oldest teams, they're all tied for first based on average age of the players. Golden State Warriors, Los Angeles Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks. Mm-hmm. Now, out of those three teams, I don't think the Warriors are going to make it. The Clippers, they keep dealing with injury problems with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And the Bucks, who last season, a lot of them thought that they would go to the championship, but they lost in 5 to the Miami Heat because Jimmy Butler had a phenomenal series. I really think this season is a do or die season. What's funny is that we remember right at the end of last season when the Bucks got eliminated, Giannis went on this big thing about how it's about a journey. Each season is a journey, right? He was saying, because a reporter asked him, was this season a failure or whatever? Then he went on this big rant about how it can't be a failure. We're set out to do this. We grow. Each season's different. And now he's like, this is it. This season, if people aren't as committed as I am, taking time away from their families to be dedicated, 100% in on winning a championship this season, he's going to leave. Now, what team could? Since I'm saying I don't think he'll sign extension with the Bucks. There are, I think, 3 destinations, maybe 4. The 4th one doesn't make a lot of sense contractually and money wise, but I think 3 are pretty good destinations. The first one is the Spurs. They have a lot of money to spend. They've been a bad team for the past couple seasons. They have Wemby. Wemby is supposedly, according to estimations, within 3 years, we'll be arguing whether or not he's the best player in the league. So if he's that type of player, adding Giannis, I think you can make a pretty decent playoff, if not championship push, with just those 2 players. The second team, I think, would be the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks right now, I think genuinely, if this James Harden thing goes sideways, which I think I fully expect it to do, we might see Embiid say, we trusted the process failed, it's time for me to move on. And I said, I made a trade, I made a mock trade not too long ago about, Embiid going to the Knicks. And rightfully so, people said, why would the Knicks trade for an injury-prone playoff choker? That's a great question, phenomenal point, but he may be your best option. If Giannis is available, if Giannis doesn't sign his extension, could the Knicks potentially be interested in getting Giannis? I would be interested. I'd be very interested in getting him. So I think that could be, potentially a location for Giannis.
He wants to go where he can win a championship. The Knicks haven't won one since 1973.
But I think, truthfully, I think the Knicks are probably one of, if not the hottest team, at least upcoming team, entering next season. The second team, which
why do you say that? Why do you say them, the upcoming team? They really only have Brunson.
They have Brunson. They have Josh Hart, who they signed as an extension.
He played terrible in the playoffs.
They still have RJ Barrett,
who didn't play that well in the playoffs.
He did not play that well. However, he does play good enough. If they keep Julius
Randle is a poor playoff player.
He didn't play well shrinks in the playoffs sometimes. Yeah. But they do have a young, exciting nucleus. I would have kept Obi Toppin. I think it was kind of mean for the Knicks to sign or
his brother now.
Draft his brother. And then let Obi go. He's going to the Pacers, so I'll be watching.
What'd they get for him?
I think they got a 2nd-round pick for him, something like that.
That's crazy. I thought he was quite a good player. He had a lot of potential.
He did have a lot of potential. I think the third team, which is interesting because I think they hung a banner or they did something. The Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are one of the teams that are like, how much does it cost? Sure, we'll mark it down. We'll deal with the luxury tax. We'll deal with all the financial troubles. I think they could be, I'm not saying that's realistic necessarily, but they're a team that would be out there to spend a bunch of money. And just think about the pairing of Steph Curry and Giannis. That right there just
it's 2 years down the road. Steph Curry's not getting any younger.
Right. I think, he's 36, 37, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
think he was that old. I thought he was like 35.
He may be 35. But at least when he signs, he may be 36, 37 years old. Right now, Steph Curry is, can I get a quick 35 years old. So when that contract
37.
when his contract goes up, he'll be about 36, 37 years old. And then the team that doesn't make a lot of sense, but I mentioned it earlier just based on how much they're compiling draft picks, is the Boston Celtics. Now, contractually, it wouldn't make much sense because if you're going to deal with a guy who's on a Supermax extension like Giannis would be, you would also have Jason Tatum, who probably will sign the Supermax going into, I believe he's eligible next season. So you'll deal with two Supermaxes, which is the same problem you had. But actually, it might necessarily be, it may be a little bit cheaper because the Supermax that Giannis is getting won't be as much as Jason Tatum. But you would still have that.
You already have.
You would have Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown already has a $300 million contract.
And
that to me is, I can't believe that.
He's the richest player in NBA history right now.
Really
That's the richest contract.
Unbelievable. I mean, he's far from being the greatest player of all time.
He's not even the best player on his team.
Yeah, I know.
So. No, you would let Jaylen Brown go, obviously. You wouldn't have three. I don't even think it's possible to have three Supermax players. And I think, honestly, Jaylen Brown, I think if he plays pretty well, I think he's very, very consistent. He's probably the most consistent player on the Celtics. I still argue that. Now, it may be consistently bad in big moments in the playoffs, but honestly, the Celtics the past couple seasons have statistically been the worst clutch team in the NBA. So they have been consistent, especially in clutch time. But during the regular season, I think in the majority of the time, Jaylen Brown is the most consistent guy. We've seen Jason Tatum go up and down, 15% shooting field goal percentage. Then the next game he shoots like 5 of 10 from 3. So I think you need to get off him, and then you would sign Giannis. But I think the highest choice right now, I think, would be the Knicks. Then I would go, the Spurs, just based on the amount of money that they could spend. Then the Knicks, then the Warriors. The Celtics are kind of just.
I don't think he's going to
team.
I don't think he'd go to the Spurs.
If Wemby's going to be a top 3 player in the NBA in a couple years,
that's okay. I think maybe they might have some good players, and that guy is one of them. But I think the coach, he signed a 5-year extension, right?
Popovich, yeah.
Yeah, he's too old. He's going to be in his 80s, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
It will probably be an executive by the time,
maybe
a year or two.
2 years more, he's going to be mid-80s, right?
Yeah. No,
come on.
He's pretty old. He's pretty old. He's still out there coaching. Except the problem is,
he's not doing a very good job.
Correct.
I mean, the team has been horrible.
Correct. The problem is, though, he's stuck in his ways and hasn't really, embraced the 3-ball yet. And that's actually hurt him a large part of the time. So, I don't know. But I think just based on how much money the Spurs could spend, you may go get Giannis and pair him up with Victor Wembanyama. But, and if Wemby's going to be arguably the best player in the NBA in 3 years, you have Giannis, who used to be the best player in the NBA, paired up with the new best player in the NBA. Who's saying they can't go deep in the playoffs? Who's saying they can't make, at least the West a little bit interesting there? It could be. I saw here the Heat. How are they going to know? If you're going to get Dame and Jimmy Butler and Bam, there's no way you're going to get Giannis. I really think the Bucks aren't. Now, will the Bucks be good in the regular season? Sure. Because I just think the East isn't, super, super strong. And I think the Bucks have the 3rd highest odds to win the East. The Celtics are number 1. Or sorry, they have the 3rd best NBA title odds. It's Celtics, then it's Nuggets, then it's Bucks. I don't love this team in clutch time. I mean, the one thing about Giannis, there's 2 things. The first thing is he's not a great jump shot shooter. His mid range isn't great. 3-ball, not that great. The second thing is he's horrible at free throw shooting. Absolutely terrible. I think he has.
That's something he can improve on.
You would think he practices them all the time, but we saw it in the playoff series. He missed, I think, 12 free throws or something like that?
Not good.
It wasn't pretty whatsoever. So I don't know, it's interesting. You think Giannis is going to sign it just based on potentially of injuries? He has been dealing with a couple injuries here and there. So
he probably won't.
Maybe.
I mean, he has tons of money. It's not like he needs the money.
Correct.
Maybe he'll wait, but I think if they... And it's also subjective about what he thinks a championship team looks like. And you're right.
Fair.
Some of the players are getting older. I don't know how many years longer Brook Lopez is going to play. Drew Holiday is going to retire at the end of this contract.
Yeah.
And Middleton is no youngster either. So they're going to have to reboot a little bit. And so they're going to have to do it through trades, I guess.
Maybe.
And who knows who's going to be available in those years. But it'll be interesting to see. He'll have to make a judgment about whether he thinks they're trying hard to stay relevant rather than rebuild.
They're an old team.
And I can understand why I wouldn't want to stay for a rebuild. Right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
he's not getting that young much. He's not that young either.
I'm not sure how. I think he's 29, 28,
Okay,
I think.
So
I mean, yeah, I mean, if I was Giannis, I've been an MVP. I've won an NBA championship. I don't want to stick around for a rebuild. I want to keep this championship thing going.
Yeah.
And if we lose out this year, or if I don't feel that a lot of players are committed, I mean, I would leave too. You have a brand new head coach. At least Giannis is not upset about, Budenholzer getting fired and then you bring in a new head coach. He at least wants to see how this team looks.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some growing pains. Maybe the coach.
he says he loves the Bucks. It's not.
You always love the first team.
He's not being negative. He's not being negative. He just wants to make sure that the team around him, and he's part of a team that has a chance to win it all.
He's holding players accountable this time. He's saying, what are we doing here? We're all aging here. New head coach. We got to get this going.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
maybe this is their best year, their best chance coming up right now.
Maybe. It very well may be. I think it's at least the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics can't afford some of the players that they have on their team right now, especially with two guys.
I think there's question marks on the Celtics. I
agree with you.
I'm not sure why they're favored to win it all, number one. Why they're the top team for winning it all. I mean, they're bringing in Porzingis.
Yeah.
He had a decent year last year, but before that he had injury issues. He was inconsistent. I don't know. And the point guard position for the Celtics
is Derek White.
He hasn't played. He played point guard a little bit when he was a rookie, apparently. But
his first two seasons.
They still have Brogdon, who was a good person.
I think he should have been starting.
Maybe he should be the starter. But we'll see what happens.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. But Giannis could be on the move. And of course, as always, we'll have to wait and see. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.